So, this is basically gonna be my second video talking about this particular game and whether or not it deserves to be remastered or remade. The first time I did a video on this was early of it was like January of 2023, like so it was like over a year ago, and honestly, like this game is actually one that is really underrated. It's probably one of the better fighting games of 2012, along with Soul Calibur 5. But Street Fighter versus Tekken was a crossover game that it had a nice look to it, in terms of animation, in terms of graphics. The story was all right, but it lacked depth. And I don't know, like it's a bit disappointing that we never got the sequel to the game because it got scrapped or canceled for whatever reason after 2016. I'm talking Tekken X Street Fighter. That was supposed to be the sequel to this game. I believe it was announced back in 2010, but then it ended up being halted until 2016, where the game was like 30% complete, and then like for whatever reason, like I guess the game got canceled or development never moved forward. And that game was supposed to be developed and published by Bandai Namco, and it was supposed to be a 3D game that resembled Tekken, and it was supposed to have characters from both the Tekken and the Street Fighter roster. And the roster was supposed to be like jam packed. You were supposed to have it looked like maybe like double the amount of characters in that game that we would have gotten in Street Fighter X Tekken. But as far as Street Fighter X Tekken is concerned, that's a game that deserved to be remastered a long time ago. The perfect opportunity to have remastered that game would have been back in 2022, because like that year was the 10-year anniversary of that title, but it seems like Capcom has moved on like from that, and they've had like bigger fish to fry. They've been focusing more on their more profitable franchises, whether it be Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter. They have other franchises that are more profitable, and they they don't tend to like look back too much. I mean, they do remakes here and there, but the thing is, like, the characters in Street Fighter versus Tekken, half of that is intellectual property that belongs to Bandai Namco, and I guess they would have to approve of that and write off on that as well. And even though they collaborated, back in the day, I still feel like those two companies, Capcom and Bandai Namco, I still feel like they're competing with each other, because you look at Street Fighter 6, the amount of popularity that it's received after its release, and you look at Tekken 8, which came out a few months ago. Both those games are like two of the most popular fighting games that are out right now, and everybody has their own respective opinion on which one's more popular. But as far as another, Street Fighter versus Tekken game, or a remake or a sequel is concerned, I don't think that's anything that's happening anytime soon. And I feel like that's a bit unfortunate, because this game was actually fun, and it was a crossover that a lot of people didn't think they were going to see back in 2012. And I do feel like, crossover games make things more fun, more exciting. And nowadays, you can't get away with just taking characters from two different games and throwing them in one game without a story. Everything has to be story driven for the most part, because that's just how video games are. And that's something that just seems to attract a lot of people, whether they be hardcore gamers or whether they be casuals. People are drawn in by a good story. They're drawn in by gameplay, cinematic cutscenes. There's like an entire formula of different things that pretty much contributes to the overall like value of the video games nowadays. And I guess Street Fighter versus Tekken is a game that, I don't know, it felt a little too basic. The story wasn't deep enough, and and I just feel like it was just kind of like, Marvel versus Capcom 2, where you had a bunch of characters thrown together in a game and there wasn't really, much of a story. I mean, this game did have a story, but I don't know, it was kind of random, and it could have been a lot better than what it was. But I still feel like Street Fighter versus Tekken, or Street Fighter X Tekken, is remake worthy nonetheless. I'm not exactly sure whether or not Capcom or Bandai Namco have any plans on making that a reality, on remastering the game or remaking the game or making a sequel or what have you. But honestly, it would be nice to see those two entities collaborate once again.